This is sort of a continuation of yesterday's when somebody said that they have a special child. So over the last year or so, my son has become more and more aggressive and destructive and
more determined to have freedom.
right.
More and more autonomous, really. On his way to alignment. Can you enjoy the journey at all?
Me, I understand that he's here for me because he led me on this journey, and that's why I'm here. And I think I manifested a residential place for him because that's really hard to come by. And he doesn't seem to like it very much.
Because it doesn't represent the freedom that he's asking for or that he's wanting. But it is a vibrational match, isn't it? It does represent the momentum. That's what you want to softly and gently get across to him. And when you understand it, and we're going to talk about it here, then you'll be able to say it to him in ways that he will understand it. But such an interesting thing how, and we can speak in general terms for a moment, someone wants freedom and doesn't believe they have it because they don't understand the freedom of thought. They don't understand the freedom of my point of attraction. They only understand their freedom in relationship to others who seem to want to confine them or to contain them or to control them. And some are born with such a strong sense of their own freedom, their own autonomy, that they sort of freak out at the slightest sign of being contained. So here's the part that we think as we step into, it's easiest to hear first. So then, in not feeling free and in fighting against it or in wanting to demonstrate that I am free when I don't mean it, can you understand us clearly? Did you hear the first conversation that we had here today about how what you're feeling, your connection with Source, is where that sense of freedom comes from? In fact, that's only where it comes from. And so until you've really hooked in with that, if you're like most people, you are looking for signs of your freedom as coming from others. And there's a bit of irony in it. It's a law of attraction thing that humans don't like, but is always the case. The more you don't like where you are, the more you get of it. And the more you fight against what's going on, the more you get of it. So the more he wants freedom and doesn't believe he has it, the more he acts out and more freedom is taken from him. He is the creator of his own reality. But this is the piece that he must come to understand. Everybody has to know this. People say to us, I could not possibly have been the creator of my own reality because I do not want this. Therefore, I do not believe that I have created this. And that's when we say, we didn't say you did it on purpose, but we always say you did it. You got to feel different if you want to be inspired to different experience. If you want something different to come to you, you've got to feel different. And the thing that's hard about this, we acknowledge it, is that almost everybody says, give me a better circumstance and then I'll have a better response to it. And what you want to get across to him is, if you can find a better response, then the circumstance will change. But not a pretend one, not a fake one, a real one.
I don't feel he understands the situation. How can I better support him?
If you wanted to teach someone something, if you wanted to help someone understand something, what's the first thing that you have to do?
Set an example.
Before that, you have to understand it yourself. Do you think you do?
I think I'm fairly clear.
Here's how you know. You know all this conversation that we just had, getting ready for you?
Mm-hmm.
This whole first conversation that we just had, just getting ready for you? You know how we were talking about preparing the atmosphere? How you feel lets you know whether you've got that going on, and how, and this is the piece we really want you to hear. Our friend was describing how he gets it so often, in fact, almost all the time, how Source adores him. So if you know that, and you're letting that adoration of Source into you, and now you're holding your son as your object of attention, you think he might get a whiff of it? And when you're worried about him, is there any of that going on? When you're responding to his situation, is there any of that going on? So you have to find a way of it going on for you, whether it's going on for him or not. You have to be in that place where you get it and you know it, so that you don't describe him as a troubled person that is in an environment under confinement. You have to see him as he really is. You have to practice knowing who he is before he'll believe it himself. We can say that better. His inner being is offering it to him too. But when you say, I don't think he's getting it, you're right. He's not getting it because he's too caught up in all of the other things that he's focused upon. But you do get his attention, and how you feel matters more to him than all other put together. And so if you can find a way, and you can, of allowing the love of Source, who loves you and your son, if you can let that in, and then you radiate it to him, not because he deserves it through his behavior, but because you don't have to earn it through your behavior. Source loves you unequivocally. Source loves because there's no contrast in that vibration. Source knows who he really is and acknowledges who he really is and flows vibrations only about who he really is and about who you really are. And when you practice letting that in, so that that's just where you stand, all sturdy and sure, no matter what, no matter what, no matter what. You practice that, you know it, it is what you know. It's the thoughts that you mostly think. In time, it's the thoughts that you only think. It's the thought that you mostly think, mostly think, mostly think. Even when you're not with him, it's the thought you're thinking. In fact, easier sometimes then. It's what you think. It's what you think when you are with him. It's what you think when you talk to him. It's what you think when you write to him. It's what you know. It's what you know. It's who you are. It's who you know him to be. You have come into complete alignment with Source, and now your leverage is enormous. And he will learn from what you have learned who he is. That's the power of influence, you see. And it's such a perfect thing, because we're going to tell you something. It's good that you know this. It's really good that you know this. This is really good that you know this. So, agreement between you, even before you came into these physical bodies, you've sensed that. But the agreement wasn't your son saying, I will lose my way and you will help me find it. The agreement was, it will look like I've lost my way so that you can find yours. And once you line up with this just a little bit, and you're so close to it, the unfolding will be rapid. It will be obvious to you, because the desire is so strong from you, and in other words, the vortex is just all about that. All about that. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to feel it. You're feeling it now. We know you are. You know that feeling of adoration that you were talking about? Does that feeling of adoration sometimes feel like relief? In the early stages, it does. When tension lifts and adoration is allowed, it's like, yeah, and that's enough. Enough for you now?
It's beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So thank you for allowing me the opportunity to come up here. I very much appreciate it. I have two questions, and I'll ask them both at the same time. I think they probably relate to each other.
Can you hear clearly?
Yeah. Oh. In some way. And I'll ask the one that's more personally difficult first. My wonderfully brilliant, creative, talented 16-year-old daughter came to me about a year ago and declared matter-of-factly that she's a boy. And she is brilliantly happy, content, living the way that I think we all want to live. And I want to encourage her and accept her in her life and allow her to become who she is.
Allow her to be who she is.
Who she is. It's difficult, though, for 16 years or 15 years. She's been my little girl, and now she's not anymore. And it's hard for me to sort of allow her or to facilitate for her or let her be who she is when I still have that perception of her.
When you think about it, that's true of everyone who is moving along. Esther has a picture on her phone of granddaughter Kate, who just turned 16. And in this picture, she's 5 and holding a great big cookie. And so proud to be holding up this great big cookie. And there's a part of Esther that wants her to go back there and be that again, because there's sweetness and wonderfulness all along the way. And so there is a sort of reluctance to let go of the delicious past unless you are pointed toward the delicious future, or unless you are devouring the delicious now. I just want to soften a little bit, because you are superimposing more trauma for yourself over this subject than is necessary, because you would be feeling some of this anyway.
For sure.
Yeah.
There seems to be an impasse in my psyche with this gender issue. It doesn't quite allow me to progress the way I might if this hadn't happened. And, obviously I can't change the circumstance, but I don't want to see her, I don't want to love her any less. And I don't, but there's something in the way somehow. I don't know. And what you said, that this would be happening anyway, some element of this is absolutely true. I recognize that.
Well, there's a bigger conversation, there's a bigger issue that this is pointing to. And what that is that as a perceiver of things standing in a human body, there is a sort of abnormal desire on the part of all humans to want stability, to want some things to remain in a way that I can get my thoughts around them. In other words, most people don't want to be very flexible with their life experience. And there is something so big and important about that, because you've got to be flexible with your life experience, because you can't stand still. Because in every moment of every day, experiences are giving you desires that you then must move toward. You just cannot stand still, nor can anyone else. So sometimes, a lovely woman sat in the hot seat just a little bit ago and described a child who came with a determination to be different enough that you had to not try to pigeonhole her into a place in order to be happy. And this is the same conversation. I will not be pigeonholed for your satisfaction. Such an important thing for deliberate creative beings to understand, that sometimes there are powerful agreements that say, I'm going to surprise you and you're going to adapt and you're going to like the adaptation. Not you're going to love me anyway. You're going to like the personal exposure to becoming an adaptive being that I'm going to provide for you. Not I'm going to be one thing and you're going to love the one thing, and then I'm going to be another thing and you're going to love the other thing. That's not the attitude. That's not the intention. It's that I'm going to be a catalyst for you to be flexible in your perceiving of this world.
Well, I got the 1-2 punch on that. I got an avalanche of that because 6 months ago my girlfriend left me for another woman. So it's coming hard and heavy. So
so the punchline is, things are not as they seem to be. Things are not as they appear to be. But what's a deeper punchline than that?
I'm not sure.
I will ask no one to be a particular way in order for me to find balance in my life. I will allow everyone in my life experience to be as they choose to be, and I will choose balance anyway. I will not get locked in to past perceptions. I will be flexible in my evolving understanding of things. This is something really big that you are asking for.
I feel relief in you saying that, because I can sense that it's absolutely true.
We have a question or two for you, and we're over time already for this segment, but we want to experience the value of this while we're all perched right here. So we have just a question or two for you. We want to find an easy way into this. Nothing hard about it, but just a natural, easy way into this. Do you feel, just in general, as a human enjoying exposure to life, do you feel susceptible or tied in a strong way to others?
Very much so.
And do you see that as beneficial or hindering?
No.
It does hinder, doesn't it?
It can.
Do you also feel some autonomy?
Yes.
But do you feel more autonomy, which self-sufficiency, flexibility, or do you feel more desire and need for stability and sameness and understanding?
Ooh, I kind of walk the fence there.
Yeah, well, most everybody feels some of each, but
Yeah.
can you feel that in your early life experience there was enough instability
Yes.
that you craved some stability?
No question.
So you wanted, needed, did your best to demand, although not in an overt way, but for the world as best as you could control it to behave in a way that soothed you.
Absolutely.
And now can you feel that that was wrong-headed, because that was sort of looking for stability in all the wrong places?
Yes.
And so isn't it nice that the people who love you most are sort of helping you loose up those rusty pipes a little bit? Yeah.
Yeah.
And aren't the conversations that we've been having here together, haven't they been freeing for you?
Wonderful.
Every
Yes.
one of them.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this is a good thing. Good thing for you to acknowledge you're in a really good place. Really, you are.
Thank you.
This is a good time for a segment of the session.